Hello and welcome to another episode of Loose Canon. This week we are going to be talking all about the Witch Queen campaign. This campaign's been amazing. What have you thought about it? Just really quick.
Oh man, it's so good. It's like a whole nother Destiny game. I mean, it
Yeah.
really does. Like everybody keeps saying Destiny 3, it really does feel a lot like
hmm
Destiny 3.
I really enjoyed it as well. I did the so it's been out for not even a full week yet, right? It's still in the
Right.
first week. I did the campaign on normal, and I did it so under leveled that I might as well
Yeah.
have done it on legend, and I would have gotten cool stuff for it too. So
Yeah.
I'm going back
Same.
through on legend now.
Yeah.
Have you
You know,
done?
it's funny. Yeah, so we did it on my wife and I did it
Mhm.
on on Be Brave, and then so about 3 missions in, my son caught up with us. So all three of us went through it together. And you're right about the scaling when you have a
Mhm.
full fire team in there.
Oh
And so
yeah.
we were under leveled, not really kind of paying attention to the light numbers. And
Mhm.
we're just trying to go in there. I'm putting on blue gear. So we come to the mission on Europa where you have to shoot the tanks at the very beginning.
Can I just say really quick?
Yeah.
Uh, tanks. You remember like when Jotun first came out and everyone was getting like
Yes.
super mad about
Yeah.
Jotun?
And it was over.
Jotun never bothered me. Jotun was like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's PvP. It's bullshit. I get over it. Tanks, however, I I I, I was in the mission for a minute and I was like, I hate this game. I'm done. And I had to walk away. I left my desk. I went and sat on the
Yeah.
couch and felt bad about myself.
Yeah. So we start and we keep dying. So like about the fifth time, we're just like, wait a minute, why is this so hard? I look up at the top screen and I'm like, oh, we're way under leveled.
hmm
Okay, let's go play some Gambit. And so we played like 2 matches of Gambit and then we were
Oh
high
yeah, it's
enough.
quick.
Yeah, it is quick. But those tanks, the splash damage,
Yeah.
so I'm hiding behind a barrier thinking, we can pull this off. Hiding behind a barrier, but just the splash damage was killing me like one shot.
hmm
It was
Yeah.
insane.
I
But
went
yeah.
into. Oh, sorry.
But they lowered the light level
Uh.
on something, so I was
mhm.
able to jump back in right after that. So us casuals kind of, and I'm not one of those people that thinks like everything has to be extremely hard when you're first playing. I feel like everybody should have access to the content they paid for
Yeah.
immediately, right? You
Yeah.
shouldn't have to grind for days just to be able to play the entire storyline.
hmm
And so
And
it's great. It's great.
and luckily it's not grind for days. Like Bungie's really succeeded in that. Like they deserve props for that because like yeah, the grind from 1350 to 1500 is a little bit big,
Right.
but it's like it's quick though because it's blues and blues are dropping from goddamn
Right.
everything. And while you're grinding up your level, if you're doing it smart, you're doing it in the new patrol zone and you're ranking up Finch by just doing patrols and public events and all that stuff. And you want to rank up Finch to get him up to level 15 so you can get Deep Sight 3, which then gives you other things. I don't know what it actually gives you, but everyone's like, get
I
up to
haven't
15.
figured out. Yeah, I haven't figured out a lot of the new stuff yet. Like I'm still working through
Mm-hmm.
understanding the glaive completely. So what I will say this. So in the past, Destiny has, as a whole, kind of like had this wall every
Yeah.
season, and so a lot of casuals like me who don't have a lot of time to play, I work and then I come home and I get like an hour, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, if you're constantly spending, your first 2 to 3 weeks just grinding.
Yeah.
So one thing that was always great about Halo is you could play the entire campaign on, just normal or heroic
Mm-hmm.
or legendary. And so you have 4 modes in there. But anyway, you have 4 different levels of difficulty. Well, Destiny didn't have that, and now they kind of do. So they have Be Brave and Legendary. So it's fantastic that they've kind of gone back to their roots a little bit to allow you to just play on easy first, and then go back and make it really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'd like to see is one day they take it even further and add something similar to what skulls were in Halo, where
Well,
you could
there
just make it even
is
harder.
there is a master level, I
Yes, I
think.
saw that. I saw
So
that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of one-upping their past by saying legendary is not the top difficulty. Now we
Hmm.
have master. So
I I pushed through that third level mission, that third mission with the tanks.
yeah,
That one really kicked my teeth in, but I pushed through and I got all the way to Savathun. It didn't even really occur to me until I was like in the last like 3 or so missions where I was loading in and I noticed that there was a modifier and I'm like, oh crap, did I accidentally select legend by accident? And I pulled out my ghost and I looked at the modifiers and it said brutal. You are severely underleveled for this mission. And I'm like, oh. And I made it all the way to the final fight, like the final fight, not just the final mission, the final fight. And I was just getting my ass handed to me like
yeah,
so easily. Savathun's just like, and you're dead. And I'm like,
yeah,
what? I didn't even see that attack coming. And I was just like, how am I supposed to do this? And I asked my friends,
yeah,
and they were like, yeah, you just. I mean, we'll get into it. This is, we'll say, if you have not beat the campaign, we are gonna talk about the campaign. So
yes,
it suggested you finish the campaign first.
yeah,
Um, so you kill the wizards, you get 3 wizards, and you get that like 40 seconds of like increased damage.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I was
noticed
just
that.
like, maybe if I kill 2 wizards, I'll get a little increased damage and it
Nope.
will last more than 40 seconds or to last forever. And they were like, no, that's stupid. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm like doing no damage to her no matter what. And they're like, well, what's your power level? And it's a 1500 activity. And I was going in at 1460. And they were like, well, that's fucking why. And I went back in at like 1491 and she's hitting me with those attacks that used to kill me. And I'm like, that didn't even do half of my health.
Yeah, yeah. Makes a huge difference.
The
Huge
difference,
difference.
man. Holy shit. It was so
Yeah,
fun though. And
yeah. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And
I'm
that's not even like scratching the surface because there's
hmm
so much more to do.
yeah, because then you get the post campaign stuff, which I
Yeah,
think they did really well. The post campaign where it's like, okay, you've succeeded in defeating Savathun, and now you have like this like unraveling the mystery of it
yeah,
scenario.
yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
So how about we take a quick detour and then we'll come back and we
Sure.
talk about this week's lore card.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
All right. So this is, popular weapon right now. Obviously, it's brand new. Everybody loves brand new stuff.
This is a good gun too.
It
This gun is
is, man.
making Legend easy because it just
Yeah.
melts.
It's so good. It's making the crucible hard. um, uh, so I did the new exotic Osteo Striga.
Hmm.
Um, so Osteo Striga, this one was a little bit. This one was a little bit of a deeper dive than they have been doing lately, which I like. I like it when they go a little bit deeper than just here's what it is, right? So osteo is anything relating to the bone.
Hmm.
But the really important part is the striga. So striga is the word origin of the word striga comes from Greek. It means strix, which is an old word that meant screecher, which was synonymous with witches. So a screecher was what they used to call witches, basically. So in a nutshell, all right.
Hmm.
Um, so in folklore, uh, which is kind of where this word is rooted, the striga is a vampiric witch that sucks the blood of infants. Um, so where it really kind of comes into fruition over the years, it's become the word for a family of plants in botany. And so,
Hmm.
botany, the striga is a parasitic flower that reproduces in great numbers by consuming their hosts.
What are they?
So,
What are the hosts?
yeah, so here we go. Um, so first off, let's tackle the mythology of it. So in
Okay.
mythology and folklore, the striga has been come to known as a vampiric witch that sucks the blood of infants at night while they sleep, and then turns into a flying insect, traditionally a moth, fly, or bee, and then only the striga herself could cure those that she had drained. Um, So the Striga is often depicted as disgustingly scary old woman. They usually dwell in hidden spaces in the forest and have supernatural powers. So obviously, that sounds just like a witch.
Hmm.
Uh, the Striga is commonly used to mean a witch that has the ability to cast evil spells upon people, and the male counterpart parts are Strigu or Strigan. So like this is a part of the old languages, from the past. So like
Hmm.
it just morphs. I don't want to get into like the etymology of everything. So let's just say it's wrapped up in the Greek language and it kind of morphed over the years.
Okay.
But the coolest part about it is in botany they use the word striga to describe a particular plant, and it's called a witchweed. And so the witchweed is any plant of the genus Striga. So there's where the word Striga comes into genealogy. Uh, within the family, and I can't pronounce this word, Orobanchaceae. So whatever that is, which contains species that are as destructive as parasites. So these are a particular type of plant species that act like parasites.
Okay.
And so the witchweed are like these branched herbs. They're usually narrow and they have rough or sometimes scale like leaves. Um, the tulip solitary flowers are red, yellow, purple, blue, or white, and the seeds, minute and produce in large numbers, and germinate when they're in contact with the host's root. So as soon as they touch the root, the parasite establishes a main connection with the host underground, where the young plant is entirely dependent on its host. After emergence, the plant can photosynthesize its own food, but it takes water and minerals from its host. The parasitic flower dies when the seeds mature, so basically when it has more offspring, right? Or when the host is harvested. Host plants appear wilted, yellowish, and somewhat decayed. Severe infestations may kill the host as well. And here's kind of a funny thing: witchweeds are known to be a plague upon fields of corn and rice. And so I saw something really kind of neat.
Destiny 2 corn on the Mars.
Yeah, there are cornfields on
Yeah.
Mars. And I don't know if that's necessarily related. I mean, we did have some funny shenanigans on Twitter with corn, and everybody was making everything corn for a minute there. So it might be a
I
call
missed
to that.
that.
Yeah, so it could be a call to that, but it's interesting. Let's just put it that way. Um, another cool note about the parasitic flower, and the most interesting part of this whole entire lore card, is the lore
Uh-huh.
surrounding this. And so, if you've read the lore on Osteostriga, it describes an exo who's talking to whoever's in, it's like an interview almost. It almost feels like you're watching like CSI, and they've got a person in a room, in a dark room, and they're asking that person, about themselves.
Hmm.
And from that perspective, if you think of it that way, it's really kind of eerie. Uh, but Lana 14, I think is the Exo's name, also pulls up in another previous lore entry for necrotic grips. And so I found it interesting that the two were related with that one Exo character. And so in Osteostriga, what happens is it's a recount or an audio log or something, a recount of what this Exo was talking about, where she's holding a mysterious entity in her hands, calling it a child, her child. And at the end, at the audio log, you read down the description, and it's this chest cavity, basically, that they had stumbled upon that was open from obviously the baby host that she was describing in the lore entry. So I don't know if you want to read it or not, but uh, it's pretty creepy.
The Osteostriga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it here.
Okay.
So one thing that I want to mention though that I think is interesting is that its flavor text victory is not in the unmaking of an enemy, but in the remaking of an enemy into your blade. Ninth understanding, seventh revision of sorrow. So the shadows of yore following Dredge and Yore kind of wrote the understandings of the weapons of sorrow.
Yeah,
Like when you go through like seventh understanding, for example. Um, so like Thorn was the 13th understanding, seventh book of sorrow. To rend one's enemies is to see them not as equal, but as objects of hollow of spirit and meaning. And in the book of unmaking, that's what it was.
yeah,
They go through like all this like thought process behind it,
yeah,
and this is saying, but in the not in the unmaking of an enemy, but in the remaking of an enemy into your blade. So it's
yeah.
like, is there like a resurgence happening of?
So this is what's cool because I saw that name and that exo, and I immediately had to look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, necrotic grips.
Mhm.
So this exo was studying a weapon found from those followers of yore,
Yeah,
and you can see in necrotic grips, she's or he is trying to understand the weapon, but at the end, it's kind of like uh, taking over the character's like
yeah.
morals in a way.
So
This,
there's
yeah,
actually a theme with this, and that Thorn and Osteostriga are very likely. Osteostriga very likely is a weapon of sorrow, which the
yeah,
only like confirmed weapon of sorrows are Thorn and Necrochasm. Bad Juju kind of falls into a similar category of it.
yeah,
And so this one kind of is interesting here because I love it. I love this entry. So like as you say, I'll just read it really quick. Pardon us. It just seems like he's always hungry. When I first became a mother, I didn't realize how much time would just be spent feeding him. Do you mind? Thank you. No, he doesn't look much like me now, I know. There are a lot of orphans these days. I heard him crying from, oh my, it seems like half a world away. It was a chance, honestly. I never thought of myself as a parent, but caring for another little life, it's taught me so much. May I? Sorry, I don't know why I'm sharing so much with you like this. It just seems easy. You just seem easy to talk to, and becoming a mom has really given me a lot more insight into the little connections between people. I used to focus so much on my work, I actually lost a few friends over it, which is a reference to the necrotic
yeah,
grips where they like
yeah,
killed people through thorn experiments.
yeah,
Oh, there we go. That's right. Growing babies need their calcium. Now I can see what matters. The beauty in small things and quiet moments, in watching others light up when they see him, in the way meeting new people broadens him. I had another child, you know. That was before. I didn't keep him safe. It's for the best. He's safe now. Besides, it means I can appreciate this little one much more. Just the two of us. I love my Striga, and he's always so hungry. And so that last line there,
yeah.
let me make sure I'm not just making this up because I'm pretty sure. Uh,
So this is a recount, and if you read the last part of the Striga lore entry, it kind of shows you where the where this was recovered from,
hmm.
which
didn't
talks.
didn't Bad Juju have like a something with hunger?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one. But yeah, so like the weapons are being fed in a way, and then also like so that's hivey hiveness. You're feeding like the worm gets fed, weapons get fed.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's where the like weapons of sorrow, you know, kind of get their uh, paracausal, I guess, ness from.
Man, that's crazy. I swear to God, there was a thing about uh Bad Juju like being like hungry. and I can't find it. Well, I don't want to sit on this for too long.
Yeah, no, no, no. So, I mean, so at the end of the Strigalore, if you read it, it says it's like case blah 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 number, suspect
Hmm.
identity, Jana 14. That's the name,
Yeah.
Jana 14. So that's obviously an exo. Um, Status at large, she escaped.
Hmm.
At large, she escaped somewhere. Evidence identification 303 audio device. So this is an audio log. Recovered adjacent to dismembered body, ribs excised. So
Gotta get that
basically,
calcium.
this baby of hers just went all full on aliens chest burster and took the
In
what it needed from her, and now is they're both on
yeah,
the loose,
yeah,
almost like shedding a mortal coil. Like we're on the way, we're on the way to our next form or something. And so that's interesting because when you think about the weapons of sorrow, you think about the hive and their chitin bodies, which are very much made out of calcium. So
hmm,
like this whole layered story, you don't really realize it until that last line what was being talked about. You just think it's a mom, sitting
yeah.
there breastfeeding a
Well, I mean,
child or whatever.
it's very clear that something creepy is happening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sure. I didn't keep my first baby safe, so it's like crazy. And the way it unravels at the end was just great. So it's like, huh. Because the whole time you're reading, like, something bad's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. This is gross. This is scary. Something bad's going to happen. Then you read that last line,
Yeah.
ribs excised.
In Necrotic Grips, it says, "We realized yours little creation is hungry, so we fed it more." So
Yeah,
there is a tie there.
yeah.
And I need to like I need to find it because I swear to God there was a thing about a hunger in Bad Juju, but there's just nothing's coming up, and
Yeah. I mean,
it's
I think
gonna.
I think I remember what you're talking about. It might not be bad juju, it might be something else, but that the weapons are definitely hungry. There's a weapon out there that was hungry and it consumed. Um,
Yeah, I mean there's the hunger of Crota, which is just
yeah,
another thing. There's various, like, a lot of hive oriented things have hunger in them, and that apparently has to do, and let's wrap this back around to the campaign. That apparently has to do with the worms more likely than the hive themselves,
yeah,
which probably the biggest surprise that I had in the campaign, and I'll ask you if you had a different one, was that the traveler was going to actually claim the krill and raise them
yeah,
up.
yeah. So I've always kind of believed that anyway. Like I always thought that the travelers walking. I mean, we know the story of the fallen,
Hmm.
and all that. So I always thought that the proto hive or the krill
Hmm.
and the fact that they were made and kind of put there and the fundament, like they didn't just show up there, or like they
Well, it
weren't
sounded
always there.
like their planet was pulled into the fundament's gravity and
Yeah,
just, by
whatever the hell
accident.
that means. Yeah. So
But
like, it could have been a part of a raise event,
hmm.
where like the creation of this new, I don't know, like maybe some devastating thing happened over here because we have the lore about the brown dwarf or whatever and the
Hmm.
fundament and talking about this place is basically just the aftermath of some horrible uh you know interstellar event. I don't know,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, right? And so the fundament was created out of that just soupy mess that was made out in space, right? And
Yeah.
so the people of the krill are there living these short lives, yada yada yada. And
Hmm.
so I always thought that, yeah, traveler had something to do with that. um what's interesting though is how the hive circumvented the traveler by the worm pact.
Well, okay, so just for everyone, because maybe there's some people who
Sure.
listening who haven't like paid too much attention in D1 or haven't even played D1. Our original understanding of what happened was the hive the krill, as we'll call them, before they became the hive, they were the krill. They lived very short lives, and basically their civilization was falling apart. They had enemies that were also krill, I believe. They were just like a different kingdom
Cephalopods
of
too.
krill.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there were also their enemies, which were cephalopod people.
Yeah, well, that was they were on a different moon though, the
Sure.
cephalopods. But so
Yeah.
in the short term for
Yeah.
them, they were
Okay.
at war with like another kingdom of krill species, the helium
Am-
drinkers, if I recall correctly.
yeah, helium drinkers, and then there were the Ammonites were the other ones. So
No, they
there's the
were up on
helium
the
drink.
moon.
Yes. So the Ammonites are the ones that were in the moon.
Yeah,
Okay. So the Ammonites were the cephalopod people
yeah,
because the Ammonite is cephalopod. So the helium drinkers were the ones that they were at war with.
yeah. And
Okay.
so the Osmium King, who was the
Yes.
father of Sithona, Zyro, and Arash,
There it is.
uh, he had a
Worm. Oh,
familiar,
yeah.
which we actually reclaim in the campaign, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And he had a familiar who made him super paranoid, so he was always looking at the sky, always looking at the stars and charting them. And then Sithona gets it, and I guess she had less resolve than her father, because they said to her what presumably they said to their father, and that a god wave is coming and it's going to kill you when the syzygy happens and all the planets align, and it's being orchestrated by the traveler. And they're like, all right, well, we need to go down into the fundament and dive deep. And that's where they find the worm gods, who offer them the worm pact, which was a shitty deal.
Right.
And they accepted the worm pact, and they accepted the dark effectively, and they then fled the fundament with the new powers that they had after killing a bunch of people, including the Ammonites, as you mentioned. Did you have something about them that you wanted to say?
No, just the fact that they're cephalopods, and that's cool because,
Okay.
you know,
So
squids.
we've always been under the understanding that the traveler didn't care about the krill. Not necessarily that the traveler was out to get the krill, but just that it was
Yeah,
like, yeah, you're there, you know, the
yeah.
end.
I like the fact that they use names that have to do with like aquatic creatures, like krill,
Hmm.
cephalopods. These nautilus forms, which would be the ammonites. All of
Hmm.
these things that really live in our world, and I'm sure they use language so that we can understand what they might have been
Yeah,
like
of
or
course.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. But a krill is very much like a shrimp,
Hmm.
So if you think about a shrimp and its body with that, bug-like exoskeleton, um, I don't know where, like, I don't know where like that really relates to a hive in their forms now,
Hmm.
but the chitin is the key because the chitin is their exoskeleton in a way, and chitin is made up of calcium, and that
Hmm.
calcium crust gives that white shell. So aquatic animals, they have the shell, very much like the bugs of the ocean, that kind of thing. Anyway,
And so we've gathered her that we've gathered. Wait, did we gather her worm? Mara
she,
has her worm. We got the
yeah, now,
familiar.
yeah,
The
yeah,
the familiar who was so old that it actually became like fossilized.
yeah,
Um we gathered them. We learned memories from like things around her throne world, and we were able to like find the secrets out. And one of the secrets was that the worm gods deep beneath Fundament saw the krill and was like, the traveler's coming. We have to make a move on them now, because if we don't get them, the traveler will. And basically tricked the hive, which that wasn't too surprising that it was all a lie, that the syzygy was a lie. When I saw
yeah,
that, I was like, yeah. Like,
yeah.
right? How did you react when you heard that?
So like syzygy, yeah, yeah, exactly. So syzygy, when you line, so it's a lineup of all the planet,
Hmm.
interplanetary objects, blah blah blah, lining up in one great big line, and the idea, the idea is that somehow the gravitational waves with the alignment have to do with some sort of like nexus point
Hmm.
in whatever reality you're talking about, and that creates this like
It would
this
pull all the
yeah.
water.
Yeah, and so like a god wave would be this like. action that happens from that mass gravity pull. And so if you think about it, this is where my mind goes Halo, because the Halo ring arrays, when they use the rings that are the homeworlds for, the species in Halo, they align the Halo rings and they fire them all at once and create one big weapon, which annihilates all sentient beings within that galaxy. So
Mhm.
my thought was, hey, this is very Halo-esque because why not say there's a syzygy coming and it's going to annihilate everything within its reach?
Mhm.
And it kind of does that, right? But the God Wave was a product of that gravitational pull somehow, which I
Well, I
don't know if
mean, the
that
God
makes.
Wave was a lie.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you think like, okay, there's a God Wave coming, your only hope is to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. And that's how they got tricked to leaving or to taking the worm pact.
Yeah. So when you think about the Fallen and you think about their whirlwind,
Mhm.
it's very much like it's almost like reminiscent of a God Wave, right?
I guess in a sense. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a cataclysmic event. Just this one
Yeah.
actually happened.
Yeah, yeah. And then you think about like our collapse, right? What happened there, like what could have happened in our collapse that caused, you know,
Yeah.
where we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's something going on. Maybe not a God Wave.
So, yeah, I thought the revelation that the Traveler was going to actually give the Krill light, not obviously not make them guardians, but was going to give them light was a really interesting one. And
Yeah.
now we exist in Savathun's throne world, which is really convenient that it exists because it has Scorn, and that's one of the only places now with Scorn. There's still only two places you can find them, but the Tangled Shore is gone. Um,
Oh, is there another place though, like we could see Scorn right now?
Dreaming City.
Oh, that's right. No.
Yeah. So
Hey, sidebar. Have you noticed how? Sorry.
go
Have you
for it.
noticed how similar Savathun's throne world is to like the Dreaming City? Some of the things, like if
I've
you
noticed
look
a
at it,
lot. Yeah,
yeah,
I have.
yeah,
There,
that was freaky.
there was like architectural similarities where for
Yeah,
like half a second I was like, "Am I in the Dreaming City?"
yeah. Like, is this some high V version of the Dreaming City?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, and that's the whole thing. You know, she has the light now, and so it's like kind of pushing out from the center, and we use the deep sight to see how things used to be, because now there are things that are no longer there, like platforms that let us get to places. Um, but
yeah.
so there's Lucent Brood within her throne world, and then there's also Scorn attacking them on behalf. And this is one of my favorite things about this expansion, the Witness.
Yeah,
So the Witness is a new name, I should say, for the thing we've always known existed. And it feels
entity.
like Bungie just finally was like, we're going to call it something. We're going to
Yeah,
name it this. The end,
yeah, yeah.
which I
Well, this is the
appreciate so
big
much.
reveal at the end of the game,
Yeah.
or at the end of
Yeah.
the campaign, which is amazing, by the way.
But so it kind of felt a little odd. Like I understood, but it like I kind of worried for like newer players who were like, who is this Witness?
Yeah.
Because it
So
wasn't
okay,
really a
so
name that's
so
been
what
used a lot.
what was really crazy to me is immediately we get onto the pyramid ship and we're
Hmm.
finding out this information about the pyramids. So I'm just like looking at everything, the walls. You see the frosty statues of like maybe Star Horse or a
Yeah,
bunch of horses like repetitively.
I didn't think of Star Horse, but I did tweet. Remember that Cade 6 Grimoire card? Did Fallen ride horses?
Oh yeah.
I did use that format, and I was like, did Darkness ride horses?
Uh, so the horse repetitively comes up as a statue that's like frozen throughout or stone or who knows what that is, that
Yeah.
material. But anyway, and okay, so immediately in my mind, as I'm inside the pyramid, I'm thinking this is so Egyptian. Like this is very much like what you would think of the inside of Egyptian pyramid would be like, with the labyrinth, the corridors, the traps, the boobies, the way to get in and around corridors to the tomb of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and so I'm looking at this architecture and structure inside the building, and I'm just thinking, wow. My mind immediately goes to that concept art where there's the big center structure in the middle, and it's like a green surrounded black orb, and there's like little face structures, and then in the background there's the pyramid ship, and it looks like you're, I don't know, on board a pyramid ship for
Mm-hmm.
maybe a raid or some fight or something, and then there's like the the very Egyptian monoliths that rise up in the foreground. So
Wasn't
that concept art has been around forever.
oh, you're talking about the
You,
concept art. I'm sorry.
yeah. So that
I
concept art is where my mind went to immediately. And I was thinking, how effing cool would it be if we ended up there
mhm.
in some sort of fight in Lightfall against the Witness, or, those people, the darkness.
I mean,
'Cause-
and that's what I'm really appreciative about this, where so for a while now we've had the names the Formless One, the
Yeah.
Darkness, more recently the Winnower, and it always felt like there was a counterpart to that, where it was like we have the Traveler, but we didn't really have one for the darkness, right? It's like, oh,
Sure.
the Traveler in the pyramids, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the
Yeah.
pyramids. The Traveler in the darkness, but the darkness isn't really its name. That's just what we call it. The Traveler in the, and so it's Traveler and the Witness, the Gardener and the Winnower, the form and formless. Like they have these like opposites names, and
Yeah. It's very cool. Very cool.
the Witness, as I think Mara said it, Mara or Savathan, I forgot who said it. They mentioned that the Witness has followers, and so far we've only really seen the Hive as a follower of the Witness, and it is exciting to think, and now also the Scorn and the Taken. But it is exciting to
Yeah.
think about the future, where it's like, okay, so who else is actually a follower of the Witness? Like,
Yeah.
and that's where those things would come in.
Yeah. So there's this power struggle
Yeah.
for like existence and non-existence, I guess, if you say. So back up for people that maybe are new.
Mhm.
The the darkness and the light have been at battle since, I guess, creation, and since the time of creation, and
Since
I
before.
wouldn't, yeah, so I wouldn't exactly ascribe any kind of like linear timeline to anything because you know we know of the events that have happened, and we're trying to like catalog when they happened and where this happened and when this happened and when that happened. But all we know is that it's been going on forever.
Hmm.
And so there's this fight between the light and the dark that's been going on forever. And the light is just trying to create life and find a way to exist in reality. And the darkness is like, no, the only true existence is non-existence, because look at all this stuff you're creating that just suffers and dies.
Yeah.
And so they're at odds with one another as to what should really happen. And it's like, should we exist or should we not exist? Because if we exist, horrible things happen and people die and stuff dies, life dies, blah blah blah. And so they're kind of like in this power struggle.
Yeah.
So the darkness and the entity, or the witness, is very much uh
The Entity, that's another one.
yeah, yeah, is very much the counterpoint to the traveler. And so it's like that's where the clash happens. And so like all this destruction and devastation in this life and great stuff that's happening in game is because of that.
So, what did you think? And maybe I can actually get an image of it. What did you think of the design of the Witness?
I loved it. It's almost like just an, I don't know, like an artist that does animation. I mean, that could very much be like a digital art somewhere. I don't want to say it's
So,
NFTs, because that's not where I'm going. But I'm thinking like true art in like a three-dimensional space. That
yeah,
was it right there. That was fantastic.
I love. I love its design because for the longest time now, I've had the opinion that the darkness didn't actually have a form of its own because that seemed to
Yeah.
be what Bungie was going for, that it didn't have a form of its own because there was that one entry card from way back in Taken King where it said, I saw the true darkness. It wore a fallen captain like a suit of clothes. But
Yes.
so if you're watching, I have it up on screen now. It's not the best quality, but this image of the witness looks super fucking tall, weirdly humanoid in
Yeah.
that like it's not human but
So
weirdly humanoid.
so let me try to explain and rationalize that for people who might have questions. The entity, the formless one, is taking on a form that is what is available to you in your mind that you can like
You think so?
conceptualize. So yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Because when you see the emergence from the black gooby globness and the hands come out first, and then it almost looks like all of these nanites are compiling together to create some form, and then inside of that suit is the entity's white pale complexion and then
Hmm.
coming out. So this is like a representation of what um you could be familiar with. And so like I think that's why they use the word the familiar, or why they said originally it wore a captain like a suit, right? Or
Hmm.
those type of things, because it's bringing a representation of something that you could associate yourself with. That way in your mind you have something to look at, right?
Yeah.
And so the entity is very much wearing this um, idea of what you would be receptive to, but blown out of proportion in the head with the, the faces coming
Yeah.
out like smoke.
Yeah.
The
So this
face
is a static image, but these were like flowing, as I'm sure you
floating,
remember, these are
yes,
flowing
flowing.
smoke faces coming out of its head.
When you look at the face, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter, but when you look at the face, it looks like a cat. It very much looks like a cat's face. It has the nose, it has the big eyes, like when a cat gives you that cute look.
I don't
What's
see cat.
I see it. You got to look at it.
I'm
You
looking
will
at it
see
right
it.
now. I don't see
You got to
cat.
put a cat next to it. Put a cat next to the face, and you
I
will
don't
see
have
it
a cat to put
immediately.
next to it.
Yeah, it's Shax's race. That's all it is. Tiger people are coming.
I would love it if tiger people were
Uh,
followers of the witness.
yeah. Well, okay. So anyway, okay. So I'm running around in the Egyptian pyramids, and I'm thinking everything Egyptian. What is Egyptian, right? Cats are Egyptian. Very much Egyptian. I'm telling you, they're doing something.
There's no cat in that. It's
Oh,
just
you just
weird.
haven't seen it yet. It's going to take a second for your mind to click. You'll see it.
It looks like an owl.
Well, yeah, when that's when you first look at it, but you got to look at the nose bridge and
I'm
how the nose.
looking at the
I'm
nose.
going to send it to you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you do
it's
that. Send it to me on Twitter and I can pull it up if it's a single image.
we'll talk lore.
Oh, damn
Anyway,
it. I just
crazy.
realized I gotta sorry for anyone watching. I when I put images on the stream, I have an image for Rhino now that I need to
That's funny.
I need to mess with this. We're
See,
trying to make
we did it.
improvements. We're trying to make improvements to the quality of the show, and some of it is it's going to be growing pains.
Yeah, we're getting
that
there.
was bad looking. I'm
We've only
sorry.
been at this for like 100 years, so
Yeah, I mean seriously though, holy shit. Um, so you did the strikes then, right? You did
yes, yeah,
more importantly the what was it, the something of the vile strike.
yeah. That was pretty cool.
I was not ready. That was probably like the second biggest surprise for me,
Yeah,
that the worms, and now it asks the question of what the worm gods are, but the worms were created by the pyramids.
yeah, that's weird. Like, how does that even work?
I don't know.
So this is where I was trying to go back and say, like, time is not linear. You can't really explain this universe in some like it happened this date and now we're at this date, because some way and somehow things pop in and out
Hmm.
of realities, and so like there could be alternate timelines, parallel universes, yada yada yada. But on this particular path that we're walking, um, the pyramid ships somehow have something to do with the worm's creation, which infected the hive or made the hive,
Hmm.
right?
Well, so
So
so what I'm thinking, remember way back in Taken King when we got those on the armor, there was let me see if I can actually find it. There was, I think it was on the Warlock Bond, where it said something along the lines of they had a choice, they chose the hunger, they chose the wormless ones, they chose the worm gods. Oh no, damn it. At the beginning, they stood in
oh,
thrall of the formless one, and they offered themselves to its depth. So
the deep.
there was like an old theory that uh the worm gods were actually Ahamkara, and that they accepted the darkness, whereas the Ahamkara did not. And that was the difference, because it was like there was like five of them or something like that. There was like actually something that mentioned them by like number.
So this was
And
so this almost kind of confirmed, like if you're saying it that way, that almost kind of confirmed my original theory about Akka, which I would just isolating one particular worm god way back in the day. I always believed that Akka was the root of the Ahamkara. And I
mhm,
only thought that because of the way that the story unveiled. And, like you had each worm had a different representation as to what they embodied as far as like a characteristic trait, right?
mhm.
So, you had uh, I can't name them off my head, but like Zol, Yul, Ur, Akka, all had a different like name that ascribed their characteristic.
Yeah, Akka is the Worm of Secrets.
Yeah,
Zol is the Will of Thousands. Is the Ever Hunger.
yeah.
Um,
So Zol was the will of thousands.
yeah,
So
Zol is
anyway,
the Will of Thousands.
so so Akka, the Worm of Secrets. The reason why I believe Akka Worm of Secrets was if you think about like how's a secret told, it's whispered, right? And I always thought
Mhm,
that the whisper was something to do with that, and that was back in T1, back when we had the Taken King and all that crap.
mhm.
And so like that kind of made me narrow onto that. I always thought that it had something to do with the dragons. Um, Never really had anything to like make it a hard fact in game. I just always kind of believed. But, you know, who is to so here was my original thing. So who is to say that all of these different worms don't have some sort of um, cross manipulation with enemy races that we encounter within game, right?
Mm.
And so I always thought, well, okay, so how many worms are there? There's five?
Yeah, it's Air, Zol, Akka, and Yule.
Yeah. And so by proxy, could all of the five worms have something to do with the enemy races that we encounter? So that was always my question.
I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. So like if you think about the darkness manipulating, like originally, could the worm's purposes have been to somehow manipulate living entities, and then they just, the hive got all of them some way.
Yeah, I can't
It's
believe
just
I'm having such a hard time finding everything, and that it is driving me nuts. I'm usually really good at finding these things, like searching them out. Yule is the honest worm.
see, so like you think about like what is honest truth. You think about like I don't know.
Well, either way,
Yeah.
um, so I think there's potential that that original theory that the worm gods aren't Ahamkara but are Ahamkara, because it's kind of been squashed that they're different species.
Yeah.
But it's like, are they though? Like, at the very least, the worm gods are some form of species that they say that the worms are their offspring, but if the pyramid's creating them,
Yeah. So it's like I don't know. It's a what is the word? It's an abstract concept still
yeah.
to this day to kind of grasp your mind around. But if you think about so many things, and my mind goes all over the place, but if you think about certain things and you think about what do worms do, they worm their way into things. And so like they're constantly there wiggling and writhing to get into certain places to, exist, right? And so a
Hmm.
worm's job is to survive, and what better way for a worm to survive than to burrow, right, into whatever is the reality at the time.
I don't know. I wonder if that's just like retcon that they're going for, that the worms were created by the pyramids, because it makes it easier to like solidify
Wrap
it.
it
It
up,
it,
sure.
it scattered, because if the worms are one entity and the pyramids are another entity and the hive or this entity and the vex are doing this thing, it's like there's so many different pieces, and it's like they might
Yeah.
want to just be like trying to consolidate it,
Yeah. I
which
don't know.
that's fair. I
I
just
mean,
hope that
maybe
we get more about the actual worm gods. Hopefully with with this year actually, because like this would be the year, right? Like
you imagine how scary it would be if like the Vex had something to do with the traveler.
I think. Okay, so now that you mentioned the Vex, before it feels like a good time. We're both in the opinion of one of the darkness classes being basically the Striga, the Thorn, the Necrotic
Yeah,
Grip,
the poison. Oh,
a
real quick,
poison.
no, this trigger, real quick on the weapon when you use it, the center ammo cartridge decays just like yeah. Did you notice that
What?
when you're firing it as you're running out of ammo, the center cartridge that you reload on the SMG it decays until it's like out. But if
I'm
you,
gonna have to pay attention for that now because I've
it's
never
so
noticed
cool.
that. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Um, And I've long been in the opinion of the third class being the stereoneutrino taken, but in one of the, I think it was one of the memories that come in the post campaign where we're basically communicating with Savathun despite the fact that she's dead.
yeah.
She mentions how she's like, I would never become the taken queen. I don't play second fiddle to my brother Oryx, stuff like that. But
It's almost like a
more
dig at
important,
everybody that was
but
thinking that.
yeah, but more importantly, she talks about the blade from the Enigma and how um I think that was actually what triggered the memory. How it has like Oryx saw the Taken. He got Tablet of Ruin and created the Taken from it, but that was almost just like a basic understanding of the true power. And the true powers seem to be kind of temporal in nature. And now I'm wondering, are we going to get like a time wielding subclass?
Dude, that would be sick.
And so it's something that I kind of just want to put out there, because if
Yeah.
everyone thinks about it, and if multiple people are thinking about it, there's the possibility that someone will be able to say yes because or no because, like they will be able to like solidify the potential for it.
Mhm.
Because I'm thinking like solar energy, electrical energy, gravitational energy, stasis is entropy. The poison is like a decay of energy because obviously like that. And it's like, so what else is there? Kinetic energy, but obviously we're not going to wield kinetic. What else is there? There's potential energy, and could that be like played into like a time wielding
Sure.
subclass in some way?
I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, if you strip it down to like what's crazy is the first three are very explainable
Yeah, very
in our universe
very. Here they
because
are.
they're rooted in the four fundamental laws of the universe. So like there's a law of gravitational forces, there's a law of magneticism, and then there's the solar, which is very much like nuclear. But nuclear has two parts. There's a nuclear, and then there's a byproduct of nuclear. So there's like the weak and then the a strong force of nuclear. So like they kind of share a commonality with that. However, when you strip all of that away and you think about the darkness subclasses, they're more rooted in the, I mean, it's all paracausal, but they're more rooted in the paracausal wizard world of like fantasy,
Hmm.
where entropy is something that nobody can physically experience in any capacity because we don't have it, but we know that it is possible. The absence of everything until it's just a crystal. Then you think about decay or the poison as a way for things to basically just become annihilated. Chemically, that is somewhat explainable, but we still, to this day, don't understand how atoms exchange electrons and decompile. Like
Hmm.
fire, for a very good example, fire is a chemical reaction that happens on Earth, and you can just, conflagrate and burn things and create all kinds of heat and stuff like that. But fire is a chemical reaction, and so chemically, you could explain the poison in a way, but what we still don't know is how does that play with the hiveness. So it's a decay, right? It's a decay of the natural matter that's around it. And it basically is just destroying and consuming. And so that's why they describe everything in, the planet of Thorn, Yor, all that stuff. When you think about those things inside the lore,
Yeah,
it's just decay and consuming. But so entropy, decay, if the third has anything to do with time,
I think it will,
then
because that's what the deep
that,
sight is.
yes,
And the
then
deep
that would
sight
be,
has like a very like almost taken aesthetic to it with the black white
yeah,
swirl.
yeah.
And so really quick, if you have the collector's edition, you have this thing. If you see on camera, it's one of these fun transition things. I got my collector's edition before I got the game, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was so confused as to what I was looking at. Like, why are they showing me this? This
Yeah.
cornfield that turns to ash, and I'm like, what is the point of it? And as I'm holding it now, I notice on the back it actually says temporal reconstruction viewer.
Creepy.
So I think there is potential in this idea.
Sure. Well, if you think about the Exo Stranger, and she's been walking the timelines and having to deal with that, and her weapon even pops up a little orb that comes from some other timeline and
And
helps
her
you
weapon's
shoot.
a kinetic.
Yeah, and she just shoots things from wherever. And then you think about the maze, that the big ARG maze that everybody had to do, which was, wherever that was, and it
Hmm.
ended with our death, or seeing our own grave or tomb, whatever. Um,
And,
there is a way somehow, and the Vex, there is a way somehow to access alternate timelines, and it always has been there. And so
and
if you think about the Taken being a part of this alternate existence and being ripped out of our existence and then brought back in a new form, maybe.
yeah, and so that's actually what made me want to talk about this when you mentioned the Vex. We know the Vex have been worshiping the darkness for some time. We don't know what exactly the Vex have, if anything, gotten from the darkness. Like, were they just created and immediately like, okay, we can time travel, or was it like, okay, we've like developed this whole thing with
Right.
geometry and construction and all that, and then that one day that Crota cut into their world and they flooded Oryx's throne and they started worshiping the darkness. Is that when they started to learn how to time travel? Like,
Who knows, man? I mean, and so like that's very like enigmatic of the game to give you little seeds like that to pull upon and just kind of be like, okay, here's something. Um,
and I'm sorry to keep
no, go ahead.
coming back to it, but also then in the book Dark Future, I recently went through this book again because everything that's happening. So in entry number 7, Commandeered, uh Zavala and Elsie and Anna go to the Leviathan where Queen Marasov is holding up, and on the Leviathan there are Cabal and Fallen. Everyone has lost much to the Dark Armies. I'm surprised you don't have Vex here as well, Anna says discourteously. An attempt at humor, my queen, I say, nudging Anna in hopes of conveying to her that the queen expects respect. The Vex are trapped in time by our betrayer and her dark army, Mara says. So the betrayer is Eris, her dark army. Somehow, Eris was able to trap the Vex in time. Is it because she controls Quoria? But the Vex can just be like, nah, fuck you, Quoria. We're not going to listen to you anymore.
Right.
Because we know that's how the Vex can work. So that means she had to have had the power to overwhelm the Vex. Or that maybe they're actually followers of the Witness this whole time.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it would appear that if the darkness was at the root of all of, the unexplainable creation that's in our universe, then I mean, anything is possible at this point. And then it could just be like, well, this was a path that the witness chose, or the darkness chose to get at the light, and then Vex were the byproduct of it, or the creation of it. And then could it be like, I don't know, man. It's very out there.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's why I say, like, don't limit yourself to timelines, because it's not going to help trying to figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited for it though. I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see uh what the third is, and it sucks because I know it's like in Lightfall. I'm expecting Lightfall to have a new subclass. Lightfall, if it has one, is going to be the poison, and it's going to be
Sure.
final shape that we finally get the if it is a time based one that we get that, and I want it so bad. It sounds so
Yeah,
cool.
that would be cool. It'll be just the ability to go back and play D1.
I'm gonna be. It's gonna be like Prince of Persia. I was gonna say, but you
I'm not
made me
familiar with that
laugh with
one.
that one.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Destiny Guardian collection to come out, and we can play all of the past expansions and seasons all in one big fat game.
It would be interesting to see Bungie put out a game like that. I mean, now that they're partnered with Sony, Sony might say, "Hey, can we re-release
Yeah,
Destiny 1 as like a complete isolated package?" And it's like, "Hey, do you want to go play Destiny 1? We made some tweaks and improvements. You can play it. We got servers up, detached from Bungie. It's like it's."
yeah. I don't know.
And Bungie might be like, "Yeah, fucking go for it. We don't give a shit."
Yeah. I really like the Master Chief collection just because it has all of the past Halo games all in one night. Nice, neat little package. You can play all of the
Yeah.
levels and the missions back to back. You can go and play all the missions from all the different games in different ways. You can, and they have like weekly challenges too. So like if you want to play all the missions that had a vehicle in it,
Hmm.
they'll let you play them all in order, and then that stuff. But also it has the PvP side of it too. So you can like pick, well, I want 2, 3, 4, and all in my queue,
Hmm.
and then you can play those maps that were part of those or like I only want to play Reach. It'll only bring up those maps in the queue, or those uh, whatever lobbies in the queue. So it would be neat if, like, at some point in the future, they could go back and do a D1 reprised edition, and SRL was there.
I mean, I'd be down for semester L. But like I think about stuff like that and I just think, would I rather have them remaster D1 or
Or
make more
do a new game.
D2,
Sure.
potentially a
I mean, that's always
D3?
a conundrum. I mean, that was a conundrum with Halo. People are like, "Why did we get MCC when it first came out? They could have just made Infinite faster or whatever. 5 could have come out sooner." Blah blah blah. I don't know. There's so many games that have been reissued. I mean, do we really even need it?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like now that Sony is now that they're partnered with Sony, maybe Sony is like, "Hey, we just want to, you give it to us. You keep doing your thing. You give it to us. We're
Sure.
just going to make some extra money because
Yeah.
it would make money. It
Yeah,
absolutely
it would.
would."
It would. Like imagine if you could go back and just, play D1 originally the way it was when you first got it, where there was nothing in game and it was like really hard to level up.
Well, yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Like, because you can have this experience where it's like you start in Destiny 1 and you go all the way up to Rise of Iron, and you have all of it right there for you
Yeah,
just to go and play. And that
that would
would
be
be a
cool.
really cool experience.
Yeah,
Admittedly, if like my clan, if my friends were like, "Yeah, we're going to be playing this." I would get it too, but
yeah,
like for the raid experiences mostly. But I
yeah,
also think it'd be more fun to do what Bungie is doing and like bring in Destiny 1 elements to Destiny 2
yeah,
periodically.
yeah. I mean, it is cool what they're doing. They're giving us like a way to go back and play some of the previous content,
Yeah.
raid wise.
Yeah.
I
Because
just
and
wish
that's what I
that the
care about.
missions. Yeah, but I like the missions. I still like replaying some of those older missions. Even in D2, some of the older, Red War campaign missions were fun.
I think there's very few missions that I actually feel compelled to play again for like personal enjoyment. I wish I had access to them just so I can be like, "Oh, what about this?" and I can just like go check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. I guess we have the Ishar for that.
We have Destiny Lore Vault on YouTube for that to for really, because Ishtar is
Yeah,
great. But when it comes to transcripts, someone needs to play it, they need to record it, they need to transcribe it, they need to put it on the Ishtar Commons, it needs to get approved, it needs to get added to the
yeah.
website. There's a lot, and I
They're
understand
doing a
why.
great job.
Yeah. It's a lot of effort, and that's why it's kind of slow moving. Whereas Destiny Lore Vault, I don't know who actually runs that YouTube, but I love that they exist because they make it. I wish it was easier to search, but that's the
Yeah,
trade off. You
yeah,
either have everything the day after it's played, or you wait extended periods of time for it to be recorded, transcribed, verified, and uploaded, and
yeah,
then have the capabilities of searching. So between Ishtar and Destiny Lore Vault, we do have a good access of lore.
yeah. I mean, it's been an invaluable tool for lore people because like you can go back and what did you can go back and say what did Asher say about being able to create light? What was that mission? And then you go back and you find it and it's like, oh wait, he couldn't create light, but he tried, and he's just trying to figure out where the heck it was coming from on uh
Yeah, that
yeah,
IO mission,
yeah. Or
the
just all of
adventure.
these different things that happen. Like what was that thing that Cade said about how do you think hunters learn how to blink? And we go and steal the thing from the thing and on Earth in the War Mines vault or whatever. So it's just like it's really neat because you're like, oh wait, those little threads they're still out there.
Hmm.
It must be a nightmare for these people, for the writers because there's so much content that they cannot write themselves out of. So, I mean, but they're really good about making a backdoor or an opportunity for something else, and being able to reconcile certain things that were said in game early on, like the dreaming traveler, the dreams of the traveler, all
The
of these
beast of
things that were,
Philippi. Yeah.
yeah, all of these things that were just so. What is this to us early on, and now we're seeing they're pulling those threads in. Speaking of threads, did you see the new items that or there's the egg ghost shell and it says egg but it's like in numbers, and then there's the needle ship but it's needle, it's like leet speak in their their spelling.
No. What?
They're in the store right now as a bundle. Pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Then I haven't I haven't like actually looked at it, but I've seen them. That's funny.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
need to get on today and look at them a little more closely.
yeah, yeah. It is funny that they play with words like the the egg and then the needle, and I mean the stitch and the time and all of these things that they just love to throw around all constantly. The traveler's an egg, it's
Hmm.
representation of rebirth in life, yada yada yada. They just keep pulling at these threads constantly.
Mm. So let me ask you then, because I'm
Yep.
seeing this a bit. Uh, with the Witch Queen now, I mean, we're still kind of experiencing it. It's a little unfair to judge it, but what is your favorite Destiny expansion? So like Destiny, Taken King, Rise of Iron, Destiny 2, Forsaken, Beyond Light, Shadowkeep, Witch Queen.
So hard. Like, okay, because I know we're all hyped, and I like it's really difficult to remove yourself from the current content. So
Yeah.
if I was to say current content aside, I could probably pick one.
Okay.
But having played The Witch Queen and knowing how
It's so
awesome it is,
fresh.
it's so fresh, and I don't want to be a victim of my own nostalgia and be like, "Oh, this was better than this," or
Hmm.
"No, this new one is the best," because this happens constantly.
Yeah.
Like, there's a funny meme in Halo or in the Halo community that keeps popping up, and it's like every new Halo game, the last Halo game was kind of good, and everybody retrospect thinks, oh well, it wasn't as bad as we thought, and then the game before that last game was the best game that ever came out, and then
Yep.
the current game is absolute garbage and shit, and we hate it.
Yeah. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah. So, um, I mean, it's just it's hard because rose tinted glasses. I remember D1. Everybody saying, I hate this game. This sucks. There's no story, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. At the time I was playing it, I was like, no, this is really fun. I like
Hmm.
it. I know it's repetitive and there's not like a ton of stuff to do at first, but then as it grew, I mean, and then I remember when the Dark Below came out and everybody was like, this is garbage. These new weapons and armor suck.
Mm.
But the raid's cool. So I don't know.
So you can't really give an answer?
I think, I guess I would have to say, no, I just can't do it. I just cannot do it. I can't say Taken
That's fair.
King.
That's fair.
Can't say Taken King like most people do. I would say probably Dark Below, just because Dark Below really set it off for me as far as lore goes.
Hmm.
D1, I didn't really care,
Yeah.
but right before Dark Below was a thing, and we got the teaser for it, that really kicked it off for me as far as like being interested in lore and what the hell is Destiny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
For me, it's also hard for me. And people are probably gonna think this is kind of crazy, but I had my most fun in the Rise of Iron expansion. Like I
yeah,
loved so much about it. I loved like all that they were doing with it. I love the aesthetics. I love the raid. The raid is still one of my absolute all-time
yeah.
favorite raids.
It's a good
And
raid because you can just play it. You don't have to be like some, geometry
yeah,
mathematician,
it was just
just
so
go.
action packed. It was like, oh
Yeah.
no, like you're in that last fight and someone on the right side dies, and you're like, well, I gotta save this raid, and you
Yeah.
rush over there and you kill the servitor and you chuck the ball or whatever. You get the
Yeah.
res and you just go fucking wail on Axis's legs with the fucking
Yeah.
Dark Drinker. It was so fun. Um, but I feel like Witch Queen really has the potential. And I would say that if I really had to pick one across everything before Witch Queen, I would say Rise of Iron because of how much fun I had with it.
Yeah.
Despite how much fun I had with Destiny 2, with Forsaken, with Shadowkeep, with Beyond Light. Um, but I think Witch Queen has the potential to take it over. But also, after this season, I think my fun and my enjoyment is going to plummet because a lot of my enjoyment is coming from the seasonal artifact mod Suppressing Glaive. Have you used that?
No, not yet, but I've heard that it's like the key to
Oh my
playing.
god. It's so good. It's so good. Because as a hunter, you're a hunter, right?
Yeah.
I see that you're wearing the Taikonaut, so it's I just have to make sure. As a hunter, you put on Stylus Executioner, and then you put on the Enigma, and then you put on Suppressing Glaive, and then you just go up to people and you smack them, and then you kill them, and then you turn invisible. And then you smack
Interesting.
someone else, and then when you're smacking them, they're suppressed. They can't attack you back unless they're a boss. So they're just going, just like looking into
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
elbow and doing nothing to you. And you are wailing on them until they die.
That was
And
Bungie calling saying they were about to nerf you.
here's another great thing. Thanks to Void 3.0, some things became fragments, including
Yeah,
the Echo of
yeah.
Leeching, which is a Titan ability to proc health regen on a melee kill. The glaive melees count as a melee kill. So you
They
kill that
do?
low level enemy. Yep. You
I
kill
didn't
that
know
low
that.
level enemy, you get your health
Get your
back.
help.
You kill another one, you get your
Yeah.
health back. You're invisible, your health is coming back, you can get out of there. You have true sight, you can get behind a wall, see where everyone is, decide who to attack next. It makes it
Wow.
so much fun. It is so
Wow.
fantastic to play.
I might not have to wear my Frosties anymore.
But what you do wear is you wear Graviton Forfeit for the first time fucking ever. And since D1, and you get I think it's 9 seconds of invisibility for each kill, and you just get to this like run around, just invisible, just beating people up, and they just don't know where to shoot. And as long as you just like know how to position yourself, you got it. And
I feel
I've
like
gone
we're
in,
gonna have to cut all of this out because Bungie's gonna nerf it if
yeah,
they
they're
hear
gonna nerf it.
this.
It's gonna be my fault. And the best thing though, like, is it's suppressing them. It's you have like I was in a scenario where it's like two scorn abominations, right? Two big guys right there. They just want to kill me. They want to slam, they want to shoot me, whatever the hell it is. And I smack one, and then I smack the other. I keep smacking the other for a bit. Go back to the other, smack it once, go back to the first one. I go back to him, and just keep them suppressed. They're not attacking me. They're suppressed. They can't
Hilarious.
do anything. While I'm killing one, the other is also suppressed.
I wonder if
It's
anybody's
too
made a
good.
glaive yet uh,
It's
in
like a
real life.
prop. Oh, dude.
Yeah,
Oh
that would
my
be cool.
god. Like,
I could probably print out a little one. I don't know if
well,
it shows up as a GTLF file yet, but
I mean, you can probably do it in pieces, right? We're gonna have to
yeah, because
talk
yeah,
because I am
I'm sure I'm
I
sure
am
I'm sure somebody's
invested.
on it already.
Yeah, I am invested. Like, if we can just like get them into like little socketing
Yeah,
pieces.
wouldn't that be cool? Like just connect them and like
That would go right across the wall.
that's
Oh
awesome.
man.
Yeah, no, so yeah, just like you said, so like Witch Queen, it's hard. We haven't seen the raid yet, but
Yeah, that's a
and I
big
know
one.
that everybody says this damn thing every time there's new content. This is going to be the make or break moment for Destiny. Well, I don't believe that.
I
But
don't get
so
that.
but I'm going to kind of say something along that line. If the raid is truly miraculous, this will cement it forever, I think. Unless there's just something amazing later on as the best expansion thus far.
Yeah. I just think it's really amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's so much to digest and I'm just glad that we're finally getting like and I know they say this every season, but we're finally getting some answers to the questions that we've had forever. And it's not but this season has been really good about not just making more questions. I mean,
yeah,
we obviously have more questions, but it's more like, well,
it's
how
more
are
answers than more questions.
yeah. It's more along the lines of, oh, how did this come to be? You
Hmm.
know, instead of, wait, who are these people still? Wait, could they still be this person? Or wait, who is this person?
Yeah.
Now it's more like, no, wait, why is this person?
They're always
Yeah.
asking who is this person, never how is this person.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have any final awesome things you love so far? Or,
I mean, that was really it. I'm going through the legendary campaign with the glaive, and except for
Mhm.
the fucking tanks stopped me. But aside from that, I was having a blast.
Yeah. So lore wise, the witness and the darkness, I mean, yeah, that was a huge reveal, and I'm glad that we didn't get any kind of idea as to what that was going to be before it happened. And I'm really impressed that the community this time was very quiet for the most part. I mean, there was a few, but for the most part, most people on the on social media was really quiet about the great big reveal. And
Hmm.
so, I applaud the community this
Yeah.
time. and and maybe that's because a lot of people hadn't been finished with it yet,
Mm.
because it took quite a while for some of the bigger personalities on social media to get through the meat of the content.
I just realized we didn't talk about how Savathun got the light.
Oh yeah, well, we kind of knew like that was going to happen, didn't
And
we?
yeah, no, so I think
I
I was
mean,
I
yeah,
might have said it in our DMs. I really wish we lived in a world where Bungie can just be like, we're releasing a game and that's
yeah,
all we got, so that in Season of the Lost, when we capture Savathun, it's like, how's she gonna escape? We don't know that she's going to escape, but we're like, we know Savathun, she's going to escape. And then it's like, and then what happens? We don't know which queen is coming, we just know something is coming. And then
yeah,
it's like, oh, this is the Witch Queen. Savathun escaped, so we're going to hunt her down. You have that first mission where it's like, oh, there she is, but she's freed of her worm. We can get her now. And then you go to get her, and the first Lucent Hive, Guardian Risen Hive spawns, and it has a ghost, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, it
right,
would have been
yeah,
so
right,
awesome.
yeah. It's just too hard to do in this world today.
It is. It is. You can't do that. I understand you can't. I wish you could.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have like freaking, CIA clearance at Bungie.
That and like we had this whole buildup of survive the truth, blah blah blah. Savathun, how did she steal the light? And the entire campaign, it's like Ikora and Zavala and everyone just being like, how did she do it? How did she steal the
Yeah,
light? And I'm just sitting there, what if she didn't?
yeah,
What
yeah.
what if it was given to
What?
her?
Yeah.
And
What if it was just, here you go, here's the light.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
was it's like how are they just like ignoring that potential? Like
yeah. So that was a good thing. But what I really like about the whole campaign is how it unfolds, just like they said it would. Like you're a detective,
yeah, no,
and
that was
so all
amazing. And that's what I
yeah.
mean.
So you have the board, you're collecting information, and then it's just like the movie Seven at the end. You're like, what's in the box? What's in the box? And then finally you're like, oh crap,
Yeah.
the light. I get it now. So yeah, I think it would have been more. It would have been more like along the lines of, oh my god,
Hmm.
had it been able to be just a secret until we got the game. But eh,
In a
here we
perfect
are.
world, right?
Yeah. Bruce Willis was dead the entire time.
What? In Die Hard? I knew it.
Yeah. So, Miles Finch, the new ghost that we have.
Miles
Uh,
Finch?
yeah, that's what I call him. We
Okay.
had Dinklebot. Now we have
Okay.
Miles Finch. Yeah,
Why,
Miles Finch
why
from the movie Elf.
Miles?
Elf. He's the angry elf.
Okay.
All right. Well, you got to look that movie up again, I guess. You haven't seen Elf since Christmas?
I I didn't realize his name was Miles.
It is to me. It's Miles Finch.
No, no, I get what you're going for now.
Yeah.
You're talking about Dinkle.
So
Dinkle
my
whatever.
question, yeah. So my question is, how do you feel about working with the Hive Ghost
I
still after all
think
this time?
I think that Finch is Amaru. That is what I'm putting out there.
Okay, I like it. I like it because I was thinking something similar.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
this whole thing is
yeah,
Savathun's elaborate scheme. Finch is actually Amaru, and the dead knight behind them, Mr. Random Dead fucking Knight.
sure.
And this was like the way for Savathun to get her memories back, things like that. Like this is all a part of her plan. And I furthermore, I think the fact that we have Savathun's body, but
Hmm.
Imaru is still out there,
Right.
being Finch, is still out there. Whether Finch is Amaru or not, I think the future of the Destiny franchise is going to come to a point where we realize we need Savathun.
Yeah. So here's my. I'm gonna piggyback on what you're saying because I
Okay.
think you're onto something, and so we're gonna finish off this podcast.
All right.
So my thought is you're right about that. And Savathun has yet to show us her next form,
Ooh.
which will be a part of all of what we're about to see.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean we have a year of content, that's gonna follow.
Yeah.
And with the way that Season of the Risen is playing out, it feels like they've really got the rhythm down to be like this is how we do seasonal content to flow with an expansion. Like they did really well in Beyond Light in the later half, but in the they kind of like in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
but now then they figured it out and now it feels like we've got it now. We're going. We're
Yeah.
coasting.
You right. You right. You right.
All right. All right, everybody. So we actually have a few new lore books, and so I'm sure we're going to be diving into those. Currently, right now, they are not available in the API, so you can't actually read them on Ishtar, but I know that you can get. Have you gotten the Lucent Moths, the collectibles?
No.
There are two available this week, and the idea is they will be available on a rotating schedule, so you might want to go get them before Tuesday.
Okay.
And also, there's a lore book attached to them that didn't unlock for me, and I wanted to ask if it unlocked for you.
Let me get
I
that
try
one.
not to talk about it too publicly because I'm like
Sure.
I don't want to put this on Twitter, and people be
Yeah.
like, "There's moths? Oh my god, I didn't know." But like
Yeah.
um, we'll find out. We'll have a lot to talk
A
about,
lot to
I'm
talk
sure.
about.
And our next show will be on Sunday the 13th. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking probably about one of those books, potentially about Season of the Risen. I've actually done none of the Season of the Risen content, like except for like the introduction stuff. Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about the grenade launcher that you get from it, I think, or the
Yep.
okay, so yeah, and I'm just like, I don't have that. Like, I'm not there yet. I've been all in on the Witch Queen campaign, so I could be as ready for this show as possible.
Same.
So come hang out with us in 2 weeks. We'll be talking more Destiny lore. If you want to find us at Loose Cannon Show on Twitter. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else?
Bye.
Okay. Bye.